Great day, great day, great day. I am Natasha L. Brown for Created Whole Ministries, and this is another installment of Wealth Wisdom, where we'll be talking about how to grow our money, how to be in proper order with our money, God's way. And we'll be doing this occasionally. I'll come on and share information with you. If you didn't see the last installment, definitely go to our page, Created Whole Ministries on YouTube, and take a look to see what that last installment talked about. So this time, our topic is it's the law, and it is a biblical law to do certain things in order to make sure that our money is flowing in the right direction. Everyone talks about being wealthy, being rich, but there are many different, let me say, aspects behind doing that. From whether you are in order with your money, literally and figuratively, if you are paying on time for services rendered, we call them bills, but they're services. You're getting utilities, water, your mortgage, your rent, whatever service you're being provided. Are you paying those on time? And many of these principles are in the Bible. They're the ones that are popular. And we'll go over one tonight, are usually about paying tithes and offering and making sure that you are funding the church, the ministry, whatever you're a part of, which is good. And people need to be taught, but most people are taught from a place of just giving, but not responsibility for why we should sow into the ministry, not the pastor, but the church or the ministry, right? So there are many aspects to that, and I won't deal with that tonight, but that is a big topic that most ministries teach from an aspect of getting instead of making sure that people understand the actual principles and laws behind why we are bringing our 10%, why we're sowing a tithe, why we're giving an offering. And since I'm on that, we'll just actually start with that base. Genesis 14, and you can read the entire account with Abraham and Melchizedek. But the main thing is verse 20. So that's Genesis chapter 14, verse 20. And this was after Abraham had rescued Lot and some other things. So read the entire chapter, but verse 20. Let's do 19. And Melchizedek blessed Abraham and said, blessed, and this is from the Amplified Version, joyful, favored be Abraham by God Most High, creator and possessor of heaven and earth. And God is the possessor and creator of the heaven and earth. And blessed, praised, and glorified be God Most High, who has given your enemies into your hands. Which, we don't even think about that, but he was blessing him. And Abraham gave him a tenth of all the treasure he had taken in battle. So this was the first account, because this is Genesis, first book of the Bible, first account of tithes. So that means it was done for a particular reason and for a particular purpose. And for our Wealth Wisdom series, what we're doing is showing you the biblical aspect of what's happening. So he received the blessing, he paid that tithe in order to keep everything flowing and circulating in the proper direction so that there would be no cutoff. And a lot of times, my pastor always says, and these teachings are based on teachings that he has done. He gave a powerful teaching on the last Saturday in February. Dr. Shamal Womack El, my pastor, taught, and this was his birthday weekend, on first fruits. So we haven't gotten there yet, but just knowing When a ministry is in a secure place financially, you can teach those principles without the fear of people not giving. And that's why many ministries don't teach biblically the tithes and offering or the responsibility. If you're a member somewhere, even a club, you would pay your dues and you would be responsible for paying them so that the structure can be maintained, the services can be provided, whatever you're expecting can be taken care of because you're paying your dues, which is a financial seed that you're putting into that particular place. Same way with the ministry. We don't call them dues, but the tithe, and it's a requirement of God. Anything that you're getting out of that 100%, you're going to give 10%, right? So, basically the most basic teaching is 10 cents out of every dollar. And a lot of people want to get into the dispute of whether it's gross or net. If you got a gift for your birthday or solar return, or if you got a gift, monetary gift from someone, you're not going to worry about whether it's taxed or not. That only comes into paychecks because of the simple fact that the numbers are so drastic depending on how you filled out your paperwork when you first got the job. So that's not even here nor there because there's two different situations. Most gifts don't come with a check stub, right? So you're giving the gross. During biblical times, there were no check stubs. So you're giving from the gross. Everything that you get, you want to give 10% of that to Abba. And what's so beautiful about that, if that was taught properly, is that it would go beyond money. And that's what my pastor taught on in the last teaching he did. Giving of your time. A lot of people say these things, but teaching it and making sure that the people understand is something completely different. So here was the first account of the tithes being paid, even though people would have sacrifices and different things that they would begin to bring to the priest after all of this took place. Abraham paid the tithe, and this started a trend throughout the Bible with the tithe. There are so many. If you just put tithe in to any biblical search engine, you're going to get many, many verses. And they're not going to be talking about pay stubs, gross or net. They're going to be dealing with giving that 10th. And if you don't give the 10th in Leviticus 27, it talks about the penalty that you're supposed to pay. And that definitely is not taught in ministries because most people, during the summertime is always a lull in holidays because people are using that money for something else, but it's not pay your tithes and give offering or bring your tithes and give offering when you want to, right? It's all the time on everything. It's on the 100%. So if you're willing to do what it is, and we take certain parts of the Bible, we preach them to other people, we do them because they feel good, but every part of the Bible is supposed to be something that we're going forth with. And we have to keep in mind what it is that's going on in order to move forward and do what we need to do. And a lot of people, especially if you work a job and you say, oh, it's been a long day. Has it been a long day because of the fact that you spent the day doing something you didn't like, or because you spent the day doing something you enjoyed and you're just tired, right? So if we are doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as our finances go, sowing in the right place and not digging that seed up and giving out of our best, not leftovers, that's with our time, our talent, anything. Giving that best, and the 10% of that best is going to make a difference in our lives. Again, it's amazing. Many things you go to church all your life, and many things you may not learn until you get older. And I was an adult as I began to learn many of these things. Some things I have put into practice, and some things I completely forgot about. But as it comes back, in the teachings while I'm in temple, it makes a big, big difference. All right, so another verse, and I won't go over that one. 27. All right, so Malachi is the one I was talking about before, very popular. Most churches use this during offering so that people will pay their, pay, I keep saying pay, will give or bring their tithes. Let me read it from both King James and, I didn't realize this was, give me just a moment to get a different version because I'm going to read it in two versions. So that, it won't be said. Sometimes we say we don't understand, but it's not always about understanding. It's about wanting to comprehend and apply. Malachi 3, 8 through 10, the King James Version will read first because this is the one that you probably know when you hear it. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me, but ye say, wherein have we robbed you? In tithes and offering. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. The whole nation. So just imagine, which is where we are as a nation now, the United States. So you paying attention to what's going on financially, especially over the past 3 years and things that we've done with the money or just government in general. But let me stay focused. Verse 10, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse that there may be meat. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. So that means it's going to be more than just a little bit, right? Malachi 3, 8 through 10 out of the Living Bible, and read it out of different versions so you can better understand. Will a man rob God? Surely not. And yet you have robbed me. What do you mean? When did we ever rob you? What do you mean? When did we ever rob you? You have robbed me of the tithes and offerings due me. And so the awesome curse of God is cursing you, for your whole nation has been robbing me. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse so that there will be food enough in my temple. If you do, I will open up the windows of heaven for you, okay? And pour out a blessing so great you won't have room enough to take it in. Try it. Let me prove it to you. And that was the Living Bible. So there is an if in order to activate the promises or the blessings of those particular verses. And in anything, if you, I will. If you, I will is what happens in those types of verses. So making sure that we're doing our part of the promise so that we can see the manifestation. And I know when I first started bringing tithes into the ministry that I was in at the time, it felt like a stretch because in our minds, mentally, you have 100%. We can do more with 100%. Versus giving and only using the 90%, right? But if you write down what comes into your home, not necessarily a budget, but what comes into your home versus not bringing the tithes into the storehouse and then bringing the tithes into the storehouse, you'll see a big difference in your money, right? And it takes a moment, doing it once or twice just to prove a point is the wrong intention. So you're going to get the result that you're intending. But if you do it consistently and you're trusting that the Lord has taken that 10% and that is activating that part of the promise on his end and your end is going to make a difference. Because when we don't do what we're supposed to do and get upset because God didn't do what he was supposed to do, it's like a parent-child relationship. And it is a parent-child relationship because he's our father. If we don't obey, and when your children don't obey, if you have children, and we were all children. So if you didn't do your chores, if you had chores, but at the end of the week or whenever you were to be given your allowance, you didn't get your allowance if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, if you had good parents. Now, if you didn't have good parents, they just gave you your allowance no matter what. And that a lot of times will disturb our relationship with our Heavenly Father because we think it's the same way. And sometimes as parents, we let our children get away with things when God is not doing that. If you, I will. If you, I will. So when we're parents and we allow our children to do whatever, there's no if you, I will, then the children are just going to do whatever. And we come into ministries and we think we can do the same thing. And a lot of pastors allow it because of the simple fact that if the ministry is financially struggling, they just want you to bring your money in. They don't care whether it's your tithes, your offering, just bring in the money. We don't care what it is. But you neglect, pastors that do that neglect to teach biblically, like our title, it's the law, to give out what needs to be done in order for us to be blessed. Because regardless, and the first time I heard, and I'm not going to call the person, but it's a financial person, they do a lot of financial teaching. They teach the 10th. And they're not even talking about from a biblical standpoint, but from a principle. They use it as a principle. They teach that, and they say give 10% to a nonprofit organization. That's Bible. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you use it, that's Bible. They're teaching you to do that. And if you do that, you're going to be blessed because if you, I will. If you, I will. Not if you do this and you're baptized or you call yourself a Christian, but if you, I will. Activating those principles, no matter what your spiritual or religious background is going to work. So believe me when I say, once I got into the habit of doing that, I realized when I took the tithes off the top and not tried to make it make sense, it made sense by the end of the month because what was needed was brought in. Even though a lot of times when we're ungrateful and we're in survival mode, when we're in I got to get this done mode, and we don't stop and just say, thank you, Lord, and realize what's going on, we miss the whole I will. If you, I will. So we're just going through the motion, we miss the I will. The benefit and blessings of I will is a powerful thing because on paper, you'll never be able to figure it out. And as a mother that raised 3 children in a single household, it made a big difference. And it was so interesting to me to see that. But when we talk about it with people, usually is an uneasy subject. Like I say, people want to throw in, is it the gross? Is it the net? Should I pay on this? Should I pay on that? If you're bringing something in financially, you give 10% of it, regardless. We're not even going to make it hard because it says here in Malachi that you're a robber when you don't. In the King James, it says you're cursed with a curse if you're a robber. And you're bringing that curse upon yourself because if you, I will. Right? So are you going to so that God can? Because he will. He's already promised. He's already said it. It's not like there is any type of hindrance from doing that. And let me go. There is another verse, and then we'll come back for another session. Leviticus 27. And there are two in Leviticus. Let me see if I can get the right version. In any of these verses I give you, like I said, definitely read them in different versions so you can get the proper understanding. All right, Leviticus 27, verses 31 through 33. This is the Good News Translation. If you wish to buy any of it back, you must pay the standard price plus an additional 20%. So if you hold your tithes, there is a penalty of 20% once you do process them. One of every 10 domestic animals belongs to the Lord. And this is Old Testament, Leviticus, right? When the animals are counted, every 10th one belongs to the Lord. You may not arrange the animals so that the poor animals are chosen, and you may not make any substitutions. If you do substitute one animal for another, then both animals will belong to the Lord and may not be brought back. And that's just saying giving your best, right? And if you are wanting to hold on to it, and let me get verse 30 here. Verse 30 says, 1/10 of all the produce of the land, whether grain or fruit, belongs to the Lord. And then it went into the 31st verse, where if you wanted to redeem or hold some back and not pay the full tithe, then the price is going to be the 10th plus 20%. And again, that was in the Good News Translation. So that definitely is not taught, because many people that are not paying their tithes, if they fully understand, most pick up from their next paycheck and go forward, which is fine. But those that do understand and sporadically are bringing their tithes in when they feel like it, are not paying that penalty, I'm sure, because again, it's not something that is taught in ministry or churches, but it's in the Word. Leviticus 27. And Leviticus gives a lot of laws, and well, the whole Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, it gives a lot of structure. And we can't say we want only the New Testament without the Old Testament, because a lot of the New Testament is based on the Old Testament. So keep in mind, and we are over time, keep in mind that it's the law, basically. Regardless, if we practice and operate fully in the principles that are in the Bible, or biblical principles, with our finances, and it says what grain or fruit, it says the animals, but now we know it's going to be our finances, right? When we were on food stamps, I would give 10%. I would find someone to give 10% of that total, whatever the total was. 10% of it, I would find someone to give it to, so that they could get the food, and that way I'm still sewing. So 1/10 of everything. And a lot of times, we don't think about that. And I don't even remember how I started doing that, or if someone said something to me, but it was giving the 10th. There was no way I was going to keep 100% of that when I did not have to qualify and get food to bring into our household. So why not help someone else? Why not sow that 10%? So there are many things that you may be doing or saying that is repelling money. And we touched on that a little bit in the previous broadcast. But keep those things in mind. As you learn, do, practice, apply. It makes a big difference. So I'm going to close out, because I did not want to go too long on any of these. But again, we'll come back and have another teaching. But keep in mind, the Wealth Wisdom series will be sharing information on biblical ways to build wealth, and biblical ways to make sure we're practicing what God has for us. I am Natasha L. Brown for Created Whole Ministries. Definitely thank you for watching live or in the replay, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.